A big night happening at Austin City Council. The City Council expected to vote on a plan tonight that could ultimately bring Austin its first professional sports team.
KXAN's Kylie McGivern has been there all night focusing on the support and the new opposition to building an MLS stadium in North Austin. Kylie.
Yes, Sydney and Robert, this is all about either moving forward with plans for McCalla Place when we're talking about a soccer stadium, or looking at that property with the eyes of, is there anything else that could go here? What are the other options? And I can tell you, at last check, there was more than 100 people signed up to talk. It still has not come up yet. Promised to be the last item on the agenda. And while there's a lot of people you can see behind me showing support, there's also some things happening behind the scenes, including a letter sent to the city attorney from Attorney Bill Alshire outlining some concerns about how this is actually going to move forward.
Like any free merchandise?
Rallying support outside and lining up to speak inside. City Council chambers swelled to capacity, all in anticipation of a vote to help determine Major League Soccer's fate in Austin. Legal questions brought up center around how city-owned land and how it's funded will be used for something like MLS and the transparency of that process.
I know how desperate the city is for affordable housing or housing in general, and virtually every checkbox that you would check as a desirable site for affordable housing, this site meets it.
Ed English has lived next to McCalla Place for 35 years, and like other critics, has serious concerns about the potential loss in property tax revenue.
Over that same period of time, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of lost tax revenue that could be used for other things.
Precourt Sports Ventures plans to foot the bill to build the stadium, and more recently has offered to include affordable housing. According to an economic study, the project is expected to generate more than $11 million in benefits to the city.
Are they going to, during the course of the contract negotiations, actually include significant penalties for not meeting any type of performance standards that they agree to?
For Chris Carruthers, it's a proposal he can get behind.
There's a number of ways the city gets revenue besides just property taxes. Sales taxes would be another good example. Not everybody can get behind UT Sports, but this is something that we can all support together. It's the first major league franchise we would have here.
Support uniting some and dividing others as council weighs the big decision. And a city spokesperson tells me there are a variety of legal points the city is going to have to address depending what direction council decides to go in. Another thing to keep in mind is there is ongoing litigation right now in Columbus, Ohio, efforts to keep the team there. So I reached out to the Attorney General for Ohio just to see if he would weigh in on this process, and have not yet heard back. Back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you so much. Major League Soccer is on an expansion kick right now. Nashville, Miami, and Cincinnati franchises have joined the league since December. Now there are 26 MLS teams. The 3 new teams should be playing in the MLS by 2020. MLS wants to have at least 28 teams. Forbes calculates values for teams. Between 2016 and 2017, their data shows the top 5 most expensive clubs increased in value by $10 to $50 million. Right now, the Columbus Crew is the lowest valued, but even that team increased in value $7 million in that same time period.
Also up for comment tonight, the potential bond package going before Austin voters in November. It could be for $816 million. Critics argue the almost $160 million dedicated to affordable housing alone is not enough money. The bond also covers flood risk reduction, city parks and pools, and public transportation. Regarding transportation, Councilmember Ora Houston released a frank statement tonight. She was upset the council decided to divert some quarter-cent funds available for each district to a request from Capital Metro. She said, quote, "The city talks about valuing equity, but this is an example of separate but unequal distribution of resources." Houston called it unfair to put more of the burden on those who do not have the means.